RJ Davis is back. So the question now, what's next? What's left to do for RJ Davis to continue cementing his Tar Heel legacy?
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Thursday, May 2nd, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shea, joined today by our guy, Coach Pat Kilby, and you've joined us at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch. Special shout out to all you everydayers out there and all you members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Coming up on the show today, Pack, let's remember Cliff Omoruyi's visit begins today to North Carolina. So in the words of Woody Durham, go where you go, do what you do. Let's make this thing happen. But specifically on the show, we want to talk about how does RJ Davis continue to cement his legacy since he's coming back? What would happen if the Tar Heels don't land Adou Thiero? In Pack, for everyone who's watching or listening to this, the transfer portal is now closed. So what does that mean for the Tar Heels? We'll get into all of that. But Pack, we got to start with the RJ Davis news. We had a live emergency podcast reaction to that on Wednesday morning. If you missed it, go check back to that because that was all RJ all the time. But look, here's what happened. In the middle of the night from Tuesday to Wednesday, it was technically Wednesday, like 3-something a.m. Eastern time. RJ drops a video on YouTube, drops that I'm back on Instagram, and bing, bang, boom, bong, he's back. This is great news. It had been reported, but now it's official both from RJ and Carolina. So, Pack, here's the question I want us to answer. From both an individual level and a team level, how does RJ cement his Carolina legacy? And here's where I want to start, though, before we even answer that question. He's already cemented his legacy in a multitude of ways, particularly because of last season, particularly because of the run to the national championship game. But Pack, I think we would agree that there is more left to do. What's next? What is that encore, right? So let's start at the individual level. To you, what are some things that RJ needs to do to cement that legacy, even more than he's already done?
Yeah, there's a lot of personal accolades left out there to be had. He could obviously go for back-to-back ACC Player of the Year. But even on a bigger scale, I think he's got to be the front runner for National Player of the Year, at least, preseason National Player of the Year right now. And you got to think that's something that's probably on his mind, something he would want to achieve and accomplish that could help cement that legacy. And, just the scoring title too. I know we've talked about it. The opportunity that he could have to tie or pass Tyler Hansbrough if he has the same output that he did this past season or better. And so, there's so many accolades that he could achieve personally that would just, like you said, his legacy is cemented, but even further cement his legacy. And so, you got to think some of those things are fresh on his mind that he wants to achieve as he comes back for a fifth year.
Man, it's so wild to keep hearing that. RJ Davis back for a fifth year. Yeah, to Pack's point, 784 points scored last year. If he identically reduplicates that, he will tie Tyler Hansbrough. That's still such a bonkers stat to me. But Pack, what's interesting to me, and I guess I don't want to say too much on this yet, but I think at the team level, I would rather him score less this year. So we'll hold off on that until we get to how does he cement his legacy more at the team level. One of the things for me on cementing his legacy at the individual level is right now, the lasting memory of RJ Davis, had he chosen to move on, would be a final game in which he shot 4 of 20 from the field and 0 of 9 from 3. As a reminder, the only game all season in which he did not hit a three-pointer. And oh, how bad does that hurt in a game that Carolina just barely lost? I hate to keep dwelling on it, but it is true. So this means that RJ has plenty of chances to redeem that and continue to do what he did. You mentioned the scoring title. He's got a great shot to be the all-time Carolina leader in three-pointers made. In fact, that seems like a pretty good shot to pass Joel Berry, who has 299. No Tar Heel has ever made 300 career threes. Might see that happen. And so I think there's all of those things, Pac. Yeah, like you said, if RJ Davis is not the national preseason player of the year, which is a thing that means nothing other than that you are that, it's a travesty. In the same way it was a travesty that he was not on either the first or second all ACC preseason team this year. Proved that very, very wrong. I think another thing he can do to continue to cement his legacy at the individual level is continue to find other ways to improve, right? Like, he made a massive leap to last year through a bunch of new skill work. What are the skills that he picks up even this offseason to continue to grow? There were those games where his height was a disadvantage as teams like Duke really, really held RJ Davis down last year. How can he find ways to continue to mitigate that? I mean, some of his like step back threes that he gets to, I mean, it's already insane. And so I'm curious, what's the next level with some of that, Pac? That'll be interesting to me to see what happens. And then, Pac, let's move from the individual to the team level. And if you want to cycle back around to anything else on the individual level, that's great. But at the team level, Pac, how do you see RJ cementing his legacy there?
Well, obviously, you had mentioned, and we all know, the national championship run, but what it would mean to, finish the drill and go ahead and win one that would be amazing. And obviously that's the goal. So that's the big thing to me, is how he could cement it at the team level. But, there's also something that they did this past year, and he was the leader of, was making Carolina really prominent in the ACC play again. And so I would love to see us go ahead and go and win another ACC regular season title. Go ahead and punch our ticket by winning the ACC championship through the tournament and going ahead and winning the NCAA tournament as well. So there's those things that we could achieve. Obviously, right off the bat, there's a brutal tournament going to Maui, and that tournament field is absolutely loaded. And so there's a chance to win that, which I think the last time we did that was Joel Berry's senior year. And so that'd be something we haven't done in a while. So there's obviously opportunity to cement his legacy at the team level. And, he's got so much experience that he brings to the table. And we've got another year with Elliot, so our backcourt looks really solid, and everything's kind of fallen into place. So it's going to be really interesting to see what he can do with this team as the leader of it.
Man, and you're absolutely right, Pac. Yes, about the Maui Invitational. Last time Carolina won that was in the fall of 2016, which was the lead up to the 2017 championship. Although that would have been Joel's junior year, correct? Or was that? Yeah, they won when he was a junior, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right. My bad.
But no, I mean, we're nitpicking there, but I just like to get that. I want to make sure we get stuff right, because everyone's in the comments like, Pac, you're an idiot. He was a junior. So, right. We're just trying to avoid those comments. Another thing about the legacy at the team level, I think you brought out a great point, Pac. They did get that ACC regular season championship outright last year, but there isn't that tournament championship. That's something that Carolina came so close to doing. If not for that wild run that NC State went on, Carolina gets that last year. So there's that kind of thing. I think another thing at the team level is that RJ took a big step in terms of team leadership this year, and not knowing if you're going to have a Brady Manick who held everybody accountable, or a Harrison Ingram, or a Cormac Ryan. Does RJ take another leadership step? I think that would be really cool to see. Like in his vlog where he announced that he was coming back, he joked about getting all the old jokes. But you know what? It's not a joke to me. It's great that RJ's an old head, that he's 22, 23, because his age and his experience and everything he's seen is going to be able to bring along Ian Jackson and Drake Powell and Cade Tyson, and even continuing to help Elliot along and Jae'lyn and the younger guys, like how to be a Tar Heel, how to do things professionally so that they then can pass it on. Ian Jackson, a lot of people are concerned, like, oh, is Ian going to decommit? Look, Ian Jackson's out here reposting RJ's, I'm back video on Instagram, right? Like, that's a great sign to me that he's all in on this thing. And so I think beyond even just the team success from a record or titles or recognition standpoint, just even that leadership and bringing everyone along, I think is another critical thing. Now, that said, if RJ could get these guys back to the Final Four, that's a career, man. 2 Final Fours, a Sweet 16. I mean, that's great. That's a great college basketball career. You'd love to see him, as you said, though, finish it off with a national championship. What a poetic end that would be. Now, Pat, want to move from talking about RJ, which we'll continue to do, obviously, all off season long. But earlier this week, I asked the question, what happens if North Carolina doesn't land Jonas Adou or Cliff Omoruyi? And today, I want to do the same thing with Adou Thiero. What happens if Pittsburgh or Arkansas or someone else not named North Carolina lands Adou Thiero instead of the Tar Heels? What do you do then? We're going to answer that question in just a second. Right after I tell you about Monopoly Go. All right, Pack, look, game off, timeout. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. And I hear you. I know what you're all saying out there. Flag on the play. Isaac, come on. You've already been talking about this, but look, there's so much great stuff in this game that we got to bring it up again. In Monopoly Go, not only can you play against your teammates, like I want to crush Pack if we were playing this game, because that's the competitor in me. But you can also team up with your friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. And the more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. Here's a couple examples. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you go smash their buildings. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges, a ton of which include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it right now for free at Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Pack, after North Carolina got Cade Tyson's commitment public on Sunday, the two places that the Tar Heels are still looking to fulfill are the 5 and the 4 position. We know, as I said earlier, that Cliff Omoruyi is beginning his Carolina visit today. To me, that's actually the more critical piece, filling the 5 than the 4. And by the way, Ryan Kalkbrenner is someone that I had mentioned I would love for Carolina to go after if he jumps in the portal, because there were rumors about it. He announced on Wednesday that he was staying at Creighton. He's staying in college, but he's staying at Creighton. So that's a non-starter, unfortunately. I would love that. So we'll all eyes on Cliff Omoruyi and how that visit goes. But Pack, right behind filling that center position for me is the power forward spot. You get those two locked up, a center and a power forward, and for me, you're in great shape. And I would leave that last scholarship alone at that point. But Pack, what we want to answer today and here right now is this question. What happens if Adou Thiero goes elsewhere? Pack, I think there's a couple ways to skin this cat, a couple different ways we could look at it. What are, to you, some of those things that Carolina could do if Adou doesn't come? I was trying to think of another rhyme with can do and Adou, but nothing else came, so that's why I paused. What else could the Tar Heels go after or do without Adou?
Well, we've got some options in the portal. One of the big ones that everybody's been kind of talking about and chatting about is Coleman Hawkins from Illinois. And kind of what he can bring. There's JT Toppin from New Mexico. That's been a name that's been thrown out there. Arthur Kaluma has been a name more recently that's kind of came out. And then under the radar, I feel like, is Keshawn Pryor from South Florida. So those are kind of 4 names in the portal that could potentially be talked about, and Carolina could potentially reach out to. As of right now, they haven't reached out to any of them, to my understanding, except for potentially Hawkins. But he has the, kind of the note about him is he has the do not contact tag. So there may be a potential landing spot already in the books. We really don't know, but that's usually kind of what that indicates. So there's options there. In my mind, I know you had mentioned you thought the 5 was more important than the 4.
You feel different?
Not totally. I feel like they're equally important.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is obviously we have to have a 5. That's of the utmost importance, especially someone that fits and fills defensive needs for us. But then at the 4, I don't feel confident right now. I like Jalen Withers, and I think if the season started tomorrow, that would probably be who we had to play there, unless Drake Powell could maybe fit that mold. But I just don't trust.
I don't see that as a freshman or based on positional fit.
Agreed. And so that's why I kind of think Withers would fit that role, but I just don't feel comfortable about that. And it's not that I don't want to see Withers succeed. I just think there's better out there for us. So we've got to have somebody that's of the utmost importance. And obviously Thiero is target number 1, but those are 4 names that we may turn to.
Well, okay. So Pac, let's talk about a little more about those guys in a second. So I kind of see 3 options. There's that one. If you don't get Adou, go get somebody else. You kind of alluded to it with going with Jay Witt or with Drake Powell, but one of the options is do nothing, right? There's no reason Carolina has to go get somebody. They could just stand pat and have two remaining scholarships and 11 used. That is a very possible thing. It sounds like that's not what they want to do. And it sounds like they would rather get somebody, but that's the difference in kind of as you're talking about the importance of it, the difference in probably a really strong team and a really national championship caliber team. Pac, there is kind of a middle ground of waiting around a little bit because there is a greater than 0% chance that Harrison Ingram comes back to school. I think you and I have both identified, and countless others, obviously, that Harrison really wants to stay in the draft. That is his desire. But there is a world in which he says, you know what, I'm not hearing what I wanted to hear. I'm not getting a first-round guarantee. It's looking more like I'd be in the 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever. And so I'd rather come back to school and get some NIL. What are your thoughts on that option of the
Absolutely,
Harrison comes back option?
So one of the things I've got to say here is preach patience. And there's so many things at play and at work here that although we would probably all like to hear from Adou Thiero right this moment, I think Harrison coming back it's possible. And the reason I say that, you can go look at the last 15 mock drafts that have been put out by reputable sites. Only one of those is going to have Harrison in the first round. And so there's, what that means for those of you that don't know, if you go in the second round of the NBA draft, you're not guaranteed a contract and you're not guaranteed to make any serious money. Certainly not guaranteed to make more money than what Carolina could likely pay in NIL to a player like Harrison Ingram. So if he gets down to it, he may say, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself. I don't care if it's second round. I'm going to rock with the NBA no matter what and see if I can, make a roster. But he also may look at it and go, God, that's kind of a financial risk. I love Carolina. I kind of want to go back, make my NIL money, and compete for a national championship. And it's like you said, it's a greater than 0% chance. I think there is a possibility, there is a world where Harrison comes back. And to be quite honest with you personally, I think it would be wise of him to, just because, like I said, there is no guarantee. You get a second round draft pick and you go down to camp and you tear your ACL. Well, there you go. There goes your NBA career. And now you bet on yourself, but you lost out, And so There's all those things to consider, and it's going to take time for Harrison to get the feedback that he wants from the NBA. And so the biggest thing I can preach is patience, because I promise you the staff and Harrison and other potential targets that are being looked into, all those things are being considered and pursued.
Pat, last word on this hypothetical with no Adou Thiero, which is not all that crazy, right? Like, our understanding is that as we record, he's in Fayetteville visiting with Arkansas, where he might go back and play with Coach Cal, even though it sounded like that was a world he didn't want to entertain. Apparently he is. So, we got to wait and watch to see this. So, Pac, here's our last word on this conversation. Of those 4 guys you mentioned, and again, folks, these are people that outside of, it sounds like some rumors that Carolina has contacted Coleman Hawkins. We don't know of any official contact with JT Toppin, Kashawn Pryor, or Arthur Kaluma. But Pac, I'm just curious, out of those 4 guys, thinking of the fit with the Tar Heels, not necessarily like big board, who would you like to have? This is like legit mock draft, how this guy would fit with the starting 5 of, say, Cadeau, RJ Davis, Cade Tyson, and let's say Cliff Omoruyi. Out of those 4, who would you take out of this list as a 5th to go with that group?
Kashawn Pryor from South Florida. He's got the shooting. He's got the ability to move well. He's got the ability to run the floor, guard multiple positions. He has great length, handles the ball fairly well, has good vision. I think he would be a really good fit for what we do. 81.5% from the free throw line. So that just goes to show you how efficient he is. And then, just real quickly to run down the other ones, Coleman Hawkins, I know that's been a name. Y'all, he kind of gives me Pete Nance vibes. And I love Pete, but I just don't like the idea of that fit. JT Toppin scores about 80% of his buckets around the rim. He's been playing the 5 for New Mexico. And so I'm just not sure how he would fit with just
like he would fit. If it's Jalen Washington, maybe that's a fit, but with Omoruyi, not so much.
Yeah, it's just lack of spacing, lack of shooting, or unproven shooting, I should say. And then Arthur Kaluma, I'm not sold on him. In his build and everything, you would think, oh, well, that would be a decent replacement for Harrison, but he's not Harrison. And I'm not sold on that fit. So I got to say Kashawn Pryor would be a great fit, and I think he flies under the radar a lot.
That's my take too. Of those 4 guys, of the non-Adou Thiero crowd, give me Kashawn Pryor. I think something I would add is a little bit of an underrated defender, beyond just block. Like he doesn't have eye-popping blocks like some other guys, less than a block a game, but defends well to me in other ways. But my goodness, if you have a 3, 4, and 5 of Cade Tyson at 6'7", Kashawn Pryor at 6'10", and Omoruyi at 6'11", whatever he is, that's a big starting line, big starting front court to go with a little more of an undersized backcourt that you have with RJ and Elliot. So that'd be interesting to watch. Pat Kilby, as you and I record, there's 50 minutes left, or 49 minutes left now in the transfer portal till it closes. But as everyone's listening to and or watching this, that bad boy's shut and nobody else can get in. What's that mean for the Tar Heels? We'll talk about that in just a second. Right after I tell you about Game Time, the weather is finally heating up, and that means it's time to go take in some MLB action. Well, great news, y'all. With Game Time, they are now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, making it even easier to get tickets and faster to do so as well. They've got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and a lowest price guarantee. And with all that, Game Time's doing everything they need to take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. One of my favorite features of theirs is last-minute deals. Maybe, let's say you want to go take in an NBA playoff game on a whim. Well, you can save up to 60% off by buying last minute for one of those, or any other sports or concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Or maybe you worry like I do about third-party tickets being bogus and you get turned away at the gate. Nuh-uh, now with Game Time, because they've got Game Time ticket coverage. And with that, your purchase is covered by the most flexible customer service policy in the entire ticketing industry. I love that peace of mind. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app right now, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, Create an account and redeem code Locked On College for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Pack, the transfer portal is now closed. Again, for you and I, there's still just a little bit under an hour left, but that window has come and gone. So, folks, as a reminder, that is just for entering the portal. Anybody that's already in, they don't, basically, you can wait to commit until you just got to enroll in school before school enrollment closes in the fall. That's it. This is just for people enrolling, and keep in mind that it includes both undergrads and grads. Now, here's the deal. There will be information that leaks out across Thursday and Friday because it's just about like stamping it by midnight on Wednesday, right? It doesn't have to be that it's out in public by then. So just keep that in mind. There could be information from the Tar Heels or others tomorrow or later on. But basically, what the transfer portal being closed now means is that you can safely assume that the Tar Heels are back. In fact, I'm going to pull up our scholarship chart in real time here for those who are watching. If you want to pull it up and you're listening, it's on my Twitter feed. You can find it there. But it means we already know RJ Davis has said he's back. We already know Seth Trimble has pulled out of the portal and he's back. But it also means you get back Jalen Withers, Jalen Washington, Elliot Cadeau, Zayden High. That means those guys are back. You get them. You have 6 Tar Heels sticking around. You add in Cade Tyson. You add in the 3 freshmen, Ian Jackson, Drake Powell, and James. I almost said James Okonkwo, James Brown. And that's a solid 10 right there, Pack. It feels to me like there are those 2 missing pieces still with another center and another power forward. And to me, that's about who else joins, because the answer to that question takes Carolina from a strong, perhaps ACC contending team to insane levels of national championship contending team. Pack, when you look at that, and you now can comfortably know that with the early entry deadline passed and with the transfer portal now closed, and you have these 6 guys back, what level of comfort are you starting to feel and think about this team?
Well, I'm starting to feel really comfortable about it. You know, just first of all, the fact that we got Seth back and returning the majority of the players that are eligible to return, you know, that makes me feel really good about the chemistry of this team, the closeness, the camaraderie, their feelings about our staff, you know, just the cohesiveness amongst the Carolina basketball family seems to be as strong as it's been, especially in an era where it's tough to find that. But like you, I still feel like there are a couple question marks that need to be solidified. And we don't want to take that lightly because of what I just mentioned. They need to be pieces that want to come to Carolina and take pride in that and fit into that family mold that we have, and can help us, you know, do the ultimate thing, finish the drill like we talked about with RJ, and that's win it all. And, you know, I feel like Cliff and then whoever we get at that 4 spot, I feel like those guys are going to fit that mold and put us in a really, really good position. And one of the things I think, the last thing I'll say is when you look at this roster and you see this team needs 2 spots to be one of the, if not the best team in the country, you got to feel good about going to play there. Like the backcourt, I mean, I'd love for somebody to find me a better one. I'm not sure that you can. And so if you're a big man playing the 4 or the 5, why wouldn't you want to come play with this roster?
And if I'm Hubert Davis, that's my pitch. You're the missing piece. Like today, that's what I'm saying to Cliff Omoruyi. Cliff, do you know how many lobs Elliot Cadeau is going to throw to you this year? You would be silly not to come be part of that. Adou, did you see what Harrison Ingram did last year? That's you, but more athletic, right? Like all of this is a possibility. And so I'm right with you. And Pack, the other point I love that you made that I'll just give even a little bigger specificity to is talking about just about everyone who could come back did. Let's remember last year, there was that mass exodus and everyone's freaking out. This year, everyone that could come back outside of James Okonkwo, that's what these 6 guys are coming back for. And then you add in Cade and the freshman and you're feeling great. So just couple cherries on top, man. And this thing is rocking and rolling and ready to go, Pack. I cannot wait to see where it all finishes off. So as we get ready to close out today, I want to shout out the Carolina baseball team for a bonkers midweek back-to-back games. On Tuesday, they beat Charlotte 13-1, and on Wednesday, they beat William and Mary 19-2. Pack, that's pretty good, I think, so way to go, Diamond Heels. Love to see it. I mean, these guys are rolling in position right now to be a top 8 national seed, which would be not only hosting a regional, but a super regional if they get there. So folks, keep your eyes on these Diamond Heels as they continue on. If I remember correctly, they don't have a weekend series this weekend, which is nice. Little rest, relaxation, and get ready for what's next. Folks, thanks so much for joining us today. Celebrating RJ Davis back, man. This team is coming together. Cannot wait to find out more about Cliff Omoruyi. And that's why, if you are not subscribed to this show, you need to right now, because as soon as news breaks, we're going live. We're breaking in to say, hey, great news. So make sure also that if you're watching on YouTube, you've hit the bell to get those notifications, because YouTube will send you a notification when we go live. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community, man, y'all, I'm just telling you, that thing is literally blowing up, even right now in the off season. It's absolutely insane, and you need to come be a part of it. It's free to join. The link for it's in your show notes. Come for the Tar Heels. Stay for everyone that's there. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. Cannot wait to be back with you again tomorrow on Friday to wrap up the week. But until then, peace.